Hi everyone, I'm Sean with Team Ricochet Airsoft, and today we're going to be reviewing the KWA Kriss Vector. Now, before we continue on with this review, we're going to give you a brief history of the gun. Now, the real steel version of this gun was designed by a French engineer, and it is a semi-automatic, two-shot burst, and fully automatic submachine gun that's chambered in 45 ACP. The gun does have its KSVS, which is an articulated mechanism that allows the block and the bolt to recoil off axis in a recessed area behind the mag well, and the result of this is decreased kick. So they paired this with the 45 ACP for the prototype, and the result was a submachine gun that could do 1,500 rounds per minute, and what would follow after that would be 1,200 rounds per minute, which is still pretty absurd. So now that we've given you a brief history of the gun, let's continue on with our review of the KWA Kriss Vector. Now, I actually had two first impressions for this gun. The first impression was this is a very well-constructed weapon. And the second impression was KWA really didn't miss much when comparing this to the real steel. The gun breaks down just like the real steel Vector would. It has the functional two-shot burst, and the internals are so accurate that Kriss Arms was in awe at the fact that KWA got that close to the real steel internals. It has licensed Kriss Vector trademarks on the receiver and on the magazine. The gun does come with the top, side, and bottom rails. It does come with two standard flip-up style iron sights. It does have a collapsible stock that when collapsed does make a little bit of a rattle sound, but it's not that bad. It's not worth, it doesn't get to me that much. And of course it comes with a 49 round magazine. Now, I ran a couple of tests on the magazine, and it will empty an entire mag on full auto with just a single charge of gas. And I also ran a second test that would emulate how I would be in an airsoft firefight, and I was able to get 70 BBs off before it ran out of gas. And I think you can get a lot more out of this if you're not as trigger happy as I am, but overall I'm pretty happy with the magazine. It doesn't seem to have the issues that the KWA LM4 mags have, which is obviously a good thing. I only have a few complaints about this gun. The first complaint is the fire selector switch is a little bit stiff. It's something that's been getting better the more I use it, but it's still a little bit too much on the stiff side for me, considering it's an airsoft gun. And the trigger is also pretty stiff, considering this is not a real steel weapon, it's airsoft. The final complaint I have, and the biggest one, is when you collapse the stock, it does make the gun shorter, but as you can tell, it's still a pretty big weapon, and it's not going to fit into most holsters I've seen. So carrying this thing around as a secondary is going to be a little bit tricky. But other than that, it's a great gun. The gun is rated at 360 to 380 FPS, and depending on where you look, 13 to 20 dBs a second. For me, I was able to get 371 on average for the chrono, but I haven't been able to see what its actual BBs a second are, so hopefully I'll find that out sooner rather than later. The thing that really impressed me about this gun performance-wise is its range and accuracy, and it seems like for once I'm not really complaining about the KWA hop-up, which is located in the front part of the breech with the charging cable. So now that we've given you a brief rundown of this gun, let's go test it out and see how it does. I will now be engaging the 80-foot marker. I will now be engaging the 150-foot marker. Alright, so I have the first target, and obviously it's a little windy outside, it's all the tape. But this is the 80-foot target. Obviously, it just completely destroyed it. There's quite a few different puncture marks, and they're clear. This is the part that actually really impressed me, is at 150 feet, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 puncture marks at 150 feet. So for a gun this size, that's exceptionally impressive. So you can reach out at 150 feet and engage people, but from what I've noticed, once you go past 150 feet, its accuracy and range just goes to pot completely. But either way, Very impressive. To wrap things up, I'm going to go ahead and give the KWA Kriss Vector a 9 out of 10. It's a solid performing weapon that has 371 feet per second out of the box standard. It does 13 to 20 BBs a second depending on where you look. We've proven that it can reach out to 150 feet with some accuracy, and I wouldn't really recommend going beyond 150 feet because its accuracy and range really goes to pot quick after that. I won't go higher than a 9 out of 10 for the main reasons. One, even with the stock completely collapsed, it's still a pretty big size weapon, so it will be a little bit tough to tote around as a second. But if you have a budget and you don't mind spending that much money on this gun, then definitely go out, buy this gun, you'll be happy. I personally do not regret buying it for 1 second. It's by far exceeded my expectations more than most of the guns I own. And in the description box below, I'm going to go and try and put some game footage down there so you guys can see it in action. And feel free to check out our Facebook page, which will also be posted in the description box below. I'm Sean with Team Kriss Airsoft, and thank you for watching my review.